over here. We have a separate chapter for pointers, but for the time being, just to understand what is pointer in C language, I'll explain what is it. So we can tell it as pointer is also, you might have studied the different, we studied already, the different data types. So now we were telling that when we are declaring a variable, what exactly is happening in memory, it will be allocated a location, and that location will be having an address. The value what we are assigning to the variable will be stored in that address location. In scanf, we are giving ampersand symbol. That means in that address location in memory, we will be storing the value. Now, there is another variable, a pointer variable, which is there in C, which is used to store the address of another variable. Listen here, we are using a pointer variable or a variable if we are using it for storing the address of another variable. We are not storing the value, we are storing the address of another variable. That type of variables are known as pointer variables. So what we should understand is a pointer variable is a variable which can store the address of another variable. So for each type of variable, if it is an integer variable, we should declare an integer pointer in order to store the address of the integer variable. If it is a character variable, we should declare a character pointer in order to store the address of the character variable. If it is a float variable, we have to declare a float pointer in order to store the address of the float variable. Here in this example, I have declared a variable which is an integer type. Integer data type. What is the name of that variable? No one is there. Huh? 61 participants are there. What is the name of the integer variable which I have declared? In the beginning, how many messages used to come in the chat box? Now it is like when I am telling one or two, Rahul or Anina, Nas, Sumi and all will be messaging. Gerard, is it PTR or what is a variable which I am declaring over here? Gerard, it is not, I didn't ask about the pointer variable. I am just asking what is the variable which I am declaring over here, which is of integer data type. VAR, right? VAR is the name of the variable of integer data type. What is the value assigned to it? We are assigning a value 10 to the variable called VAR, to the integer variable var, right? So what will happen? In memory, listen, now in the memory, when we declare a variable, an address location or a location will be reserved for the variable called VAR and it will be labeled as VAR. What is the address? Address of this variable, which we never used to see. No, it is allocated in the memory. The address 0x7FFA. This is the address of the variable called var. When we are assigning a value 10 to the variable var, it will be allocated or it will be assigned to the space which is given for the variable called var in this address location. Right? This is direct assignment. If you are using scanf, using ampersand before the variable name, you will be accessing the address. So whatever we are assigning, it will be assigned to the location in memory. This is in memory. Understood? In memory, what is happening is like we will be assigning the value of the variable 10 in the address location 0x7FFF. We never ask for the address and all, but this is what is happening in the memory. Right? 10 is not the address, Naveen, what you are telling. 10 is allocated in the address 0x7FFF. So here the address of the variable VAR is 0x7FFA. Okay, this is the address. Value which is being saved in this address is 10. Value is 10. Address is 0x7ff. Okay. Now when I ask, you should be able to tell what is the value and what is the address. Right. Now I am going to declare another variable. See, here I declared a variable called VAR. Now I am going to declare another variable called PTR. Here also I had used integer as a data type. Here also I am using integer as a data type, but there is a star in between, right? This indicates it is a integer pointer. Listen here, this is a integer pointer variable. It is a variable, it is an integer variable, but now in between integer and pointer, I am integer and the variable name, I am giving a asterisk symbol. This indicates that we are declaring a pointer variable of data type integer. Understood? So you can name, instead of PTR, you can give any name. P also you can give, V also, X or Y, any name you can give. But in order to declare a pointer variable, you should be putting a asterisk symbol before the, after the data type, before the variable name. Understood? So what exactly will be happening is, in this statement, we will be allocating, this is another address location, and we are allocating into a point to a variable called PTR. Only that much will happen. I didn't put animation to this. Now in the next step, what is happening? PTR, which is a pointer variable, is allocated VAR, or we are assigning VAR to PTR. What will happen in this step? What is the value of the variable VAR? Value of the variable is 10. And in this step, when we do PTR equal to VAR, PTR is an integer pointer, VAR is an integer variable, This is an integer pointer variable. Both are variables only. This is an integer pointer variable, PTR. Integer pointer variable, but this is an integer variable. This is an integer variable. When I am assigning an integer variable to an integer pointer variable, listen, what will happen is, it's not the value 10 being assigned to PTR, it will allocate the address of VAR. What is address of VAR? What is address of VAR? 0x7 FFA07. This address will be assigned to the variable called PTR. What is address of PTR? Address of PTR is 0x98. No, the difference you can see 98B499E. This is another address. But address of variable VAR is 0x7 FFA. This address, we need not to study the address and all. Don't copy exactly the address. You just write 0x7, one hexadecimal number. Address of the variable VAR will be assigned to the pointer variable PTR. I know this is little tough to understand, but only thing you have to keep it in mind is, PTR is a pointer variable, means it will be storing the address of another variable. That's all. Address and all, you need not by heart and write this address. You need to write any like short form, no, 0x7, or you can write 8080 without hexadecimal also. You can just write any number, whatever it may be. Address of this variable, which is address of, Naveen, tell me which is address of the variable VAR. Naveen, are you there? Anybody, can you tell me what is address of VAR? Amebu has answered. What is value of VAR? Value of VAR? 10, right? 10. Now, PTR is a variable. So now tell me, what is the value of PTR? We already assigned PTR equal to VAR, no? So tell me, what is value of PTR and what is address of PTR? Value of PTR will
0x7.
0x7. Now is having the
value.
Value will be the address of VAR, right? Address of VAR, which is ending with a DD4. What is address of PTR? Address of PTR is 0x7 ending with a 99E8. Each memory location will be having an address. That's all. Just imagine that your house is having an address, right? College is having an address, like that. So you understood the concept, you write in your own words. If you are declaring an integer pointer, it will be able to store the address. Understand? That is a different data type you have to understand, because it is storing the address of another variable. We cannot use it for storing the value. You can use it only for storing the address of storing the address of another variable. Here another variable is var. Understood? So if you are using the address, don't think that this is a complicated topic. We are having a chapter with the pointers. So this concept is very simple. Don't take it in. I have seen this pointer. No, we cannot understand anything. Don't think like that. This is very simple concept in which we are having a variable called PTR, and this PTR will be storing the address of another variable. Right? If I am declaring a variable now, suppose I am declaring a variable called integer a, and I'm just allocating a equal to 20. So now in this step, if I am giving PTR, PTR is a pointer variable, right? Integer variable. And if I am allocating a, what will happen? Suppose if a is having an address location in memory, this is the address location for a, and it is having an address of 0896. So what will be assigned to PTR now? PTR will be having the value 0896. Understood? So instead of this address, it will be replaced by the address of A. That's it. Okay, so this is what is known as pointer. So when we are assigning the value, when a variable is directly assigned, we will be giving its address. So it pointer variable can have only address. So we are assigning the address, and if we are giving some other value, it will be sometimes it will be showing the errors also. Here we are just assigning. If you are using another variable a equal to var, means it will copy 10. But as PTR is a pointer, integer pointer variable, it will be taking the address of the variable called var. Understood? Now, how to declare? I want to store the address of a float variable. I want to store the address of a float variable called I have declared a variable called a float a, and I have assigned the value of a as 2.4. So if I want to store the address of the variable a, what I should be doing? What should be the steps for doing in order to store the value? Address. Store the address of what I should be doing? I should be declaring a float pointer, right? How to declare a float pointer? Float, and I'm using an asterisk symbol to indicate that it is a float pointer. I'm using a variable called PTR. PTR. You can use any variable name. PTR1 I'm using. Okay. So I declared a float pointer PTR1. Now what should be the next step? PTR1 equal to A. So now address of A will be assigned to PTR1. Manikandan? Manikandan, are you there? So this is known as a pointer variable, and it will be having the address of another variable. Now we are moving on to only 3 lines are there in this slide, but I am taking this much time, right? Now you have another concept called dereferencing a pointer variable will refer to the content stored in it. So one more thing. So if I am directly using PTR, listen here. If I am directly using PTR in any of the functions or any of the lines in the statements or in the program, what will be used? It will be having the value of, that is address of the variable called var. This number will be referred when I am using the pointer variable ptr. Directly if I am using ptr, it will refer to, or it will have the address 0x7, that is address of the variable called var. Understood? Now, suppose I want to, so this will be, as you can see, this will be the address of the variable called var. If I am using only ptr. Suppose if I am using, listen here, star ptr, this is known as the dereferencing operator. Somebody is like Manikandan, you are not listening, that's why. If you are using star ptr, then it will be referring to the value of the variable. If you are just using ptr, it will refer to the address. I will just rub it off. Now, in the coming up slides, I'll be always asking about this. So you should tell me if I'm using PTR in any of the statements, lines of statement, it will be referring to the address of the variable var. If I'm using star PTR, if I'm using star, if I'm denoting or putting a star before, asterisk symbol before PTR, it will refer to the value of the variable var. Is it clear? Write in your notebook. If I am using a dereferencing operator star before the pointer variable, it will refer to the value of the variable. If I am just using PTR, we had declared PTR in order to store the address, right? So if I am just using PTR, it will refer to the address of the variable. VR is a variable which is assigned to PTR, means it will have the address of the variable VR. Anyone is having a doubt? Any doubt? If you have, you can ask me. So if I am just using PTR, it will refer to the address of the variable var, that is 0x this one. If I am using star PTR, listen, if I am using star PTR, it refers to the value, that is value of the variable called, which is var. Now that variable name is var, so refers to the, I'll write like that, to the value of var, that is 10, right? Hope you understood this concept. So in the next, in order to explain that program, this I will repeat it in the pointers chapter, but I'm just telling because this topic is there in your function chapter. Okay, so if I'm telling PTR, because you know PTR is declared as an integer pointer, if I'm just referring and it is assigned, right, assigned the address of the variable var. If I'm just using PTR anywhere, it refers to address of the variable var. And if I'm using star PTR, that means asterisk dereferencing operator. Don't read it star. I'm just telling it is a dereferencing operator followed by the variable PTR. It refers to the value. What is the value? Value is 10. Understood? Sangavi, you're joining now only. Only 58 participants now. So now we are moving on to the next concept, that is, as I told, call by value and call by reference is there, right? Call by value we already saw. Now we are moving on to call by reference. Before moving into call by reference, as we are using the concept of pointers and dereferencing, I had explained it, okay? So that's why I explained in the previous slide about pointers, what is address of a variable and what is the dereferencing of a pointer variable. Understood? Now we are moving on to the call by reference, which is the second type of passing of arguments. Okay, in call by reference, the calling function will need to use, what is this symbol? What is this symbol called? Ampersand. What is the functionality of this ampersand when we are using
Address of operator.
address of the
Address.
right? So we will be in when we a function is called, we will be passing the ampersand to send the address of the actual arguments. Got it? So we are not passing the variable name. Usually what we will be passing in the previous example, a comma b. Here we are passing ampersand. So to the variable to the value of the variable is used now passing or calling of a function we understood. Now in the actual argument, no, in the formal argument, in the function declaration, we are using a pointer to the value of the variable. So we are using, in order to accept, you know that actual arguments will be assigned to the formal arguments. There we are using a pointer variables to pass the reference to the variable in the call function. When I explain, you will understand. The called function will need to be dereferenced. So we will be declaring a pointer to hold the address, because we are passing the address, right? Listen. Which variable can contain the or can have the address of another variable? Only pointer variable, right? Actual arguments we are passing address. So what we will do? Formal arguments, no, we should declare it as a pointer variable, because only pointer variable can have the address of another variable, right? So what we will do? We will declare formal arguments as pointer variable. Got it? So in the actual arguments, we are passing address. Address is passed. So here we should receive address. To receive address, formal parameters, or arguments, we will be declaring it as pointers. Right? Pointers only can have the address. So we are declaring it as pointers. So if you get an address, what is the use? We cannot suppose in the previous example, we were swapping the values, right? So how to swap the values if you get an address? So we are using the dereferencing operator here. To swap the values, again we have to get the value, right? Address we cannot swap. So we will be using the dereferencing operator. Which is the dereferencing operator? This star symbol before the pointer. Suppose PTR is a pointer variable which is having the address of the actual argument. We will use with a star before the PTR variable. Got it? You can use any variable name. You can use A also as a pointer variable, B also as a pointer variable, right? So if we use a dereferencing operator before the pointer variable, we will be able to access the value. With that, we will be swapping the values. So I'll show you an example. Call by reference. Same program, we are going to use a call by reference. Here, what is the name of the function? Swap by by reference. Here, return type also, we have given as void. There is no return type, return value. And there are two arguments which are of data type int. Understood? Now, we are moving on to main. In main, what we have, we are declaring as we had declared for call by value. Here also we are declaring two values called A and B. So I didn't keep that value separate, right? Okay. That name of the variable I just write. Many animations I was doing also at the end, I will just name it as A and B. A and B is there down, but it is not C. Okay. So here, when we declare the variables A and B, in the memory, address I am writing now because we are going to use the address, right? So I am just two memory locations. One is named as A, the other one is for B, as we declare two variables A and B. And now we will assign the value 10 to A and value of 20 to B. Right? So you know the address of A is ending with FFA, address of B is ending with FFB, right? Now, so this is what is happening when we are allocating, right? Now we are moving on to the next step, that is printf statement, program using call by reference. That is exactly printed over here. Value before swapping, value of A before swapping is 10, value of B before swapping is 20, right? So that like that we printed. Now we are going to call the function. See the difference? Swap by reference. All of you listen. This is important topic, and if you understand the concept, that chapter itself is done. Swap by reference. So for swap by reference, we are passing the address. In call a swap by value, we were just passing A and B. Here we didn't indicate anything. No, we were just telling two integer variable, and we are telling that we are passing the address of the variables, right? We are passing the address of the two variables ampersand A and ampersand B. So what exactly will be taken? It will be taking the address. It is not passing 10 and 20. It is passing the address of A and B. Understood? I tried with the animation. Sometimes it will not work, but still. Now when we are calling swap by reference, the program will jump to the program, the swap by reference function definition. Function definition. In function definition, what we are going to give? In function definition, we are going to give the, what is that we are giving? We are giving an integer pointer, two integer pointer variables, because here we are passing address. We have to accept the, one second, here I didn't give integer pointer. Sorry, this you have to give it as integer pointer. Okay. So here, as I told, as we are passing the address, listen here, as we are passing the address, in function, we have to accept the address. Which type of variable will be able to accept the address? Only pointer variables will be able to accept the pointer. As we are passing integer variable, address of an integer variable, we should declare it as an integer pointer, right? So now calling is done using address. So accepting, or in the function definition, we will be accepting with a pointer variable. So these two, will be having the address of A and B, right? Now, so this address means it will be directly taking the, or it will be directly, it is as if we are pointing towards the actual value which is there, which is used in the main function. Listen, we are passing the address means we are directly reaching over here. When we pass that value as a formal argument, it is actually we are accessing the value which is given over there in this address. We are giving a permission to use the value which is being stored in the address location, which is used by main function. Understood? Now swap is given a concession to use, or it is given the permission to use the value which is stored in an address location used by the main function, right? So we are just accessing the same. We are not making any duplicate copy. We are directly using that address and the value which is being used over there, right? So now what is happening over there? Now here, we will be using a variable called a temp, and then in temp we will be passing the value of A. How we are passing the value of A? As I told, if I just use A, address of the value will be used. If I am using asterisk A, that is, if I am dereferencing the pointer variable using the asterisk symbol, value of A. What is the value of A? Value of A in main is 10. Value of A in main is 10. That value will be assigned to the variable called temp. Got it? So now we are making into temp, we are just copying the value of A. Now in the next step, we will be copying the value of A to the dereferenced point variable. So both are dereferenced, means we will be accessing only the value. If I am just giving A equal to B, it will copy the address of which is there in B to A. Now as we are using star A and star B, what will happen? It will copy the value which is there, value which is there in the address of address location of B will be copied. So that means In the address location of B, what we have? 20, right? 20 will be copied to the address location of A. That's why we are getting A equal to 20. Now what we will do? Actual swapping only. Now what we will do? Whatever was there in temp, we will copy back to B. So in the whatever is there, the value which is there in temp will be copied to the address location of B. So directly the value of A and B will be changed because we are accessing. Even though I am showing it here, I cannot do more animations over here. Directly the value of A and B will be swapped using this temporary location. Okay. Hope some of you at least understood. I will repeat it again. So now if we are using this address location and swapping the values, for swapping we have to use this dereference operator, and then if we are swapping using the same concept, temp equal to A equal to B and B equal to temp. But we are, in order to get the value, you have to use star A. If we are just giving temp equal to A in this program, you will be copying only the addresses, right? You cannot do like that. So you cannot copy the addresses because we are using a, here itself, we had taken a pointer variable. You can use, but the only problem is the value will be some junk values. Address value will be printed, right? So here what you are doing is you will be dereferencing the pointer variable using a asterisk symbol. Then you will be getting you will be directly accessing the value. Understood? If you are just giving temp equal to A, if you are just using temp equal to A, address of A will be passed to temp. If you are giving temp equal to asterisk A, value of the A will be passed to temp. Got it? Now in the next step, value of the value which is stored at the address of B, that is taken using asterisk B, it is assigned to A. That means 20 is copied to A. And in the last step, value of temp. Temp is not an integer pointer, right? Just temp. That's why we are not putting any asterisk symbol. Temp is assigned to B. Alright, so the value is directly copied to the. So whatever we are doing here will be reflected over here. That's why I was changing here also. Understood? So now initially the value of A was 10 and value of B was 20. Now as we are directly accessing the value which is stored in the main, address will be the same itself. Janani had asked address will not change. We are not touching on the address also, right? We are, even though passing the address, we are getting the values, after getting the values address in A and B, we are using only the star A. What is star A? Star A means the value will be accessed. We are not touching the address. If you are using, generally, if you are just giving temp equal to A, then address will be swapped. Address we cannot swap also like that. Okay. So we are using the dereferencing operator in order to swap the values at the address location. Here only address part will be coming only over here, right? We are sending the address, we are assigning the address to the variable called A and B. Understood? That's why I showed that animation gone, I think. Here also, I was just showing this number, So in the whenever we are copying to the formal parameter, it is having the address. But when we are using the star A, we will be accessing the value which is stored in the address location. Got it? So now after this, if you are printing value after swapping, now what will happen? Can anybody tell? Value after swapping. We have only one location or one copy of value of A and B. So whatever we were doing, we were changing the values of A and B. So ultimately after this swapping, we will be, so what will be printed is A value will be 20 and B value will be 10. Initially it was 10 and 20. When we are using call by reference, the value of A and B will be interchanged. Are you getting? So this will be the example for call by reference. If you want, you can write the program. I'll just execute and show. So next hour now I'll show something different. Always this theory. I will show how to take that Google how to send a certificate and all that we will do, because too many programs. The theory, I just wanted to finish this concept. Yes. So next hour, no, we will do something different. This one, it is in good condition.